My daughter kicked me out. After winning $12 million, but she never checked the name on the ticket. I am Alma, 62 years old, and I have always believed that family is everything. I worked multiple jobs as a single mother after my husband died, giving Jennifer the best life I could afford. We were once close, but as she grew older, her priorities shifted toward wealth and status. I never imagined the lottery ticket in my purse would tear us apart. Before I tell you how my own daughter threw me out on the street over money, let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button if you believe family should always come before fortune. I grew up in a small town in Ohio called Millfield, where most folks worked at the local factories or farms. My parents were honest, hardworking people who taught me the value of a dollar early on. Dad worked at the paper mill, and Mom cleaned houses for the wealthier families in the neighboring town. We never had much, but there was always food on the table and enough love to go around. I met Frank during my senior year of high school. He was apprenticing as an electrician at the time, and our paths crossed when he came to fix the wiring at the diner where I worked after school. Frank was different from the other boys I knew. He was kind, respectful, and had dreams bigger than our small town, but not so big that they seemed impossible. We dated for 5 years before getting married, building a solid foundation for what we thought would be a lifetime together. Frank and I tried for years to have a baby. The doctors couldn't find anything specifically wrong, just said sometimes these things take time. I was 34 when I finally saw those 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test. Frank cried when I told him, his big hands trembling as he placed them on my still flat stomach. We named her Jennifer after my grandmother. Those first 5 years with Jennifer were the happiest of my life. Frank was an amazing father, always finding time to play with her despite working long hours to support us. He would come home tired, but would light up when Jennifer ran to him, arms outstretched, squealing, "Daddy!" at the top of her lungs. Then came that terrible Tuesday in April. Frank went to work like any other day, kissed me goodbye, and tickled Jennifer until she giggled so hard she could barely breathe. That evening I got the call that changed everything. Frank had collapsed at a job site. Heart attack, they said. He was gone before the ambulance even arrived. I was a widow at 39 with a 5-year-old daughter who kept asking when Daddy was coming home. The life insurance helped for a while, but it wasn't enough to last forever. I had to figure out how to be both mother and father to Jennifer while keeping a roof over our heads and food on the table. I took a job as a receptionist at a dental office during the day and waited tables at night. My mother moved in with us for a few years to help with Jennifer when she was young. But after Mom passed when Jennifer was 10, it was just the 2 of us against the world. Those early years after Frank died, Jennifer and I were inseparable. She was such a sweet child, always drawing me pictures or picking wildflowers to put in a cup by my bed. She would wait up for me on nights I worked late, though I always found her asleep on the couch, determined to see me even if her little body couldn't stay awake. Jennifer loved dance more than anything. When she was 8, she begged me for ballet lessons. The classes were expensive, but the joy on her face when she twirled around our living room in her little pink leotard made the extra shifts at the diner worth it. I still have her first recital costume tucked away in a memory box. I sat in the audience that night, exhausted from working 12 hours, but so proud I thought my heart might burst. As Jennifer entered her teenage years, things began to change. The sweet girl who was grateful for small treats started asking for designer clothes like her friends had. I tried my best hunting through thrift stores and clearance racks, but it was never quite right or never quite enough. I started seeing disappointment in her eyes where there had once been only love. By the time Jennifer was applying for colleges, she had become someone I hardly recognized. She was still my daughter, and I loved her fiercely, but the warmth between us had cooled. She wanted to attend an expensive university several states away, and I took out loans I knew I would be paying until I was 80 to make it happen. Jennifer studied business and marketing, determined to build a life as far from our modest beginnings as possible. During her sophomore year, she met Bradley Thompson, son of a successful investment banker. Bradley drove an expensive car, wore designer clothes, and had never worked a day in his life. Jennifer was smitten. The first time she brought Bradley home during spring break, I saw the embarrassment in her eyes as she showed him our small rental house. I had spent days cleaning, cooking his favorite foods based on what Jennifer had told me, trying to make a good impression. But Bradley barely looked at me during dinner answering my questions with one-word responses while typing on his phone beneath the table. "Mom, why do you still have those awful curtains?" Jennifer asked later that night after Bradley went to take a shower. "And that couch is so old. Don't you ever think about upgrading anything?" I didn't tell her that I had been saving for months to replace our leaking refrigerator, or that the previous winter I had gone without proper heating to afford her textbooks. I just smiled and said, "Maybe someday, honey." When Jennifer graduated college, I took the day off work, bought a new dress I couldn't afford, and drove 6 hours to attend the ceremony. I searched the sea of caps and gowns for my daughter, waving frantically when I spotted her. She gave me a quick, tight smile before turning back to her friends. At the reception afterward, she introduced me to Bradley's parents as my mom without even saying my name. I spent most of the event standing alone nursing a plastic cup of punch, watching Jennifer charm everyone but me. That night, I cried myself to sleep in the cheap motel room I had booked. But in the morning, I wiped away my tears and told myself that this was normal. Jennifer was building her own life now, and wasn't that what I had worked so hard for her to have opportunities I never had? If growing apart was the price for her success, I would pay it gladly. Or so I told myself. Last spring, things got really tough financially. I had been laid off from the dental office when they downsized, and the diner where I worked nights had cut back my hours. On top of that, I had developed arthritis in my hands, making waitressing increasingly painful. Then came the medical bills. Nothing serious, just some tests when I found a lump in my breast. It turned out to be benign, thank goodness. But the relief of that news was overshadowed by the stack of bills that followed. By April, I was 2 months behind on rent. My landlord, Mr. Peterson, had been patient, but his patience was running thin. "I like you, Alma," he said one afternoon as he fixed my leaking kitchen sink, a task that wasn't really his responsibility. "But I got bills to pay, too. If you can't get caught up by the end of the month, I'll have to start the eviction process." I nodded, thanking him for understanding, while mentally calculating how many extra shifts I would need to pick up to avoid ending up homeless at 62. One indulgence I allowed myself each month was a single lottery ticket. $5 that probably should have gone toward bills or groceries, but it gave me a day or two of dreaming about a different life. I always bought it from the same convenience store, a small place called Lucky Corner, about 3 blocks from my apartment. On April the 23rd, I stopped by after my shift. Maria, the owner, greeted me with a warm smile. She was about my age, maybe a few years younger, and we had developed a friendly rapport over the years. "The usual, Alma?" she asked, already reaching for a Powerball slip. "You know me too well," I replied, digging in my purse for my wallet. "How's that daughter of yours, Jennifer, right? Still with that fancy boyfriend?" I nodded, pulling out a $5 bill. "They're talking about getting engaged. Bradley comes from money, so the wedding will probably be quite something." Maria raised an eyebrow as she processed my ticket. "You don't sound thrilled about it." "Oh, I am happy for her," I said quickly. "Bradley can give her the kind of life I never could. It's just—" I trailed off, not wanting to admit even to myself how much it hurt that Jennifer barely called anymore unless she needed something. "Just that you miss her," Maria finished for me, handing me my ticket. "I understand. My son moved to California 5 years ago. Calls on my birthday and Christmas, that's about it." I smiled gratefully at her understanding. "Exactly. But that's parenthood, isn't it? You raise them to fly and then they fly away." "Too far away sometimes," Maria agreed. Hey, I put your name on the ticket already. Hope that's okay. Perfect. Thank you, I said, tucking the ticket into my purse. Maybe this will be the one, right? Maria laughed. I say that every time I sell a ticket. One of these days it has to be true. I waved goodbye and headed home promptly, forgetting about the ticket, as I focused on more pressing concerns, like how I was going to afford both electricity and groceries that week. The ticket sat in my purse for nearly a week. I might never have remembered to check it if Jennifer hadn't called inviting me to dinner at her apartment. Such invitations were rare, and despite my exhaustion after a double shift, I agreed immediately. Jennifer and Bradley lived in an upscale apartment complex on the other side of town, the kind with a doorman, a swimming pool, and monthly rent that probably equaled my entire income. I always felt out of place there, like the doorman could somehow sense I didn't belong. After dinner, while Jennifer and Bradley were bickering in the kitchen about whose turn it was to load the dishwasher, I remembered the lottery ticket. I pulled out my phone and checked the numbers, not expecting anything. I had to check 3 times, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. All 6 numbers matched. According to the lottery website, the jackpot was $12 million. $12 million. More money than I had earned in my entire life. More than enough to pay off my debts, secure a comfortable retirement, help Jennifer and Bradley with their wedding, maybe even buy a small house by the beach like Frank and I had always dreamed about. I must have made a noise because Jennifer came back into the living room looking irritated. Mom, are you okay? You look weird. I couldn't speak. I just handed her my phone with the lottery website open. What am I looking at? She asked impatiently. The numbers, I finally managed to whisper. Check the numbers against this. I pulled the ticket from my purse with trembling fingers. Jennifer took the ticket looking confused. Then her eyes widened as she compared the numbers. Oh my God, she whispered. Then louder. Oh my God, Bradley! Bradley, get in here! Bradley sauntered in, drying his hands on a kitchen towel. What's going on? My mom won the lottery, Jennifer shrieked, waving the ticket in the air. $12 million. I sat there in stunned silence as they both began talking excitedly, already making plans for the money. All I could think was that I wouldn't have to worry about being evicted anymore. And maybe, just maybe, Jennifer would want to spend more time with me now. I fell asleep that night thinking about all the people I could help with this unexpected blessing. Jennifer and Bradley, of course. But also my neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, who was raising her grandchildren after her daughter died. The young couple down the hall who were struggling to afford childcare for their twins. The local women's shelter that had helped me years ago when Frank died and I was drowning in grief. For the first time in years, I fell asleep with a smile on my face, dreaming of security and generosity, rather than worry and lack. The next morning I woke up early, still hardly believing my luck. I dressed carefully in my nicest outfit, a navy blue dress I had bought on clearance for church functions, and took the bus to Jennifer's apartment. I wanted to talk to her about the practical steps for claiming the ticket and make plans for how the money could help both of us. When I arrived around 10 in the morning, I was surprised to hear multiple voices coming from inside the apartment. Jennifer usually slept late on Saturdays, a luxury I had rarely been able to afford. I knocked on the door and Bradley answered, looking startled to see me. Oh, Alma, Jennifer didn't mention you were coming over. I wanted to surprise her, I said, smiling, to talk about the ticket. Bradley's face changed a strange expression, crossing it before he stepped back to let me in. Of course, come in. We were just discussing that very thing. The living room was filled with people I didn't recognize. A man in an expensive suit sat at the dining table with papers spread before him. A woman with sleek hair and red-bottomed shoes was typing on a laptop. And at the center of it all was Jennifer, looking more animated than I had seen her in years. Mom, she said when she saw me coming over to give me a quick hug. You should have called. We're in the middle of something important." "I can see that," I replied, looking around at the strangers. "Who are all these people?" Jennifer gestured to the suited man. "This is Calvin Morris, the best lottery attorney in the state. And that's Stephanie Winters, a financial advisor who specializes in sudden wealth management. Bradley called them first thing this morning." "Oh," I said, surprised at how quickly they had moved. "That's very efficient, but I thought we might discuss our plans first, just the two of us." Jennifer exchanged a glance with Bradley that I couldn't quite interpret. "There's no time to waste, Mom. These things need to be handled properly from the start. Calvin was just explaining the benefits of claiming the money through a trust to maintain privacy." "That sounds sensible," I agreed, taking a seat on the couch. "I definitely wouldn't want my name all over the news." The attorney cleared his throat. "As I was explaining to Jennifer and Bradley, creating a blind trust allows the winner to remain anonymous in states that don't guarantee anonymity. It also provides protection from people who might try to take advantage." I nodded, though I noticed he was directing all of his comments to Jennifer and Bradley, barely acknowledging my presence, despite the fact that it was my ticket. For the next hour, I sat quietly as they discussed tax implications, lump sum versus annuity payments, and investment strategies. Whenever I tried to contribute to the conversation, Jennifer would quickly speak over me or Bradley would redirect the discussion. When the financial advisor began talking about real estate investments, Jennifer suddenly became very animated. "Bradley and I were actually looking at properties in the Lakeside Hills development. With this money, we could easily afford one of the larger models." "That's a lovely area," I commented. "Maybe I could look for something smaller nearby. It would be nice to be close to you." There was an awkward silence. Bradley coughed. Jennifer fidgeted with her engagement ring, a large diamond I had never seen before today. "Actually, Mom," Jennifer said finally, "we were thinking it would be better if you stayed in your current place, at least for now. No need to make hasty decisions, right? We can pay off your rent for the year, get you some new furniture, that sort of thing." I felt a chill run through me. But I thought, well, with $12 million, there would be enough for both of us to have nice homes. Jennifer laughed a sound, with no real humor in it. "Let's be realistic. After taxes, it's more like $7 million. And with the wedding, the house setting up proper investments for our future children's education travel, it goes quick." "$7 million goes quick," I echoed, hardly believing what I was hearing. "What Jennifer means," Bradley interjected smoothly, "is that with proper financial planning, this money needs to last decades. Making extravagant purchases right away isn't wise." "A small house isn't extravagant," I said quietly. "And I thought we would share the money. It's my ticket after all." The room went still. Jennifer's face flushed red. "Your ticket, Mom. If I hadn't insisted you check those numbers last night, it would still be sitting forgotten in your purse. Besides, you've never been good with money. Remember when you almost lost our house because you forgot to pay the mortgage that time Dad was in the hospital?" The unfairness of that statement took my breath away. Frank had been hospitalized with pneumonia the winter before he died. I was at his bedside day and night, terrified of losing him. Yes, I had missed a mortgage payment, but I had called the bank, explained the situation, and worked out a payment plan. We had never come close to losing our house. "That's not what happened," I said softly. "And regardless, I'm not asking for all of the money, just enough to live comfortably and maybe help some people who need it." Bradley snorted. "Help people like those lazy neighbors of yours who can't be bothered to get real jobs." "Bradley," Jennifer said in a warning tone, but she was smiling slightly, as though his rudeness was amusing rather than hurtful. The attorney cleared his throat again. "Perhaps we should discuss the actual claiming process. Jennifer, since you have the ticket now—" "I have the ticket," Jennifer interrupted, her voice suddenly sharp. She dug through her purse frantically. "Mom, what did you do with the ticket after showing it to me last night?" I frowned, trying to remember. "I thought I gave it to you when you asked to see it." "And I handed it right back to you," she insisted. No, you didn't. You were waving it around showing Bradley. Jennifer's eyes narrowed. Are you accusing me of lying? Before I could respond, Bradley stood up and began searching through the papers on the dining table. It has to be here somewhere. We were all looking at it last night. After 10 tense minutes of searching the apartment, Jennifer found the ticket in her jewelry box. Here it is, she said, looking relieved. I must have put it somewhere safe before going to bed. I held out my hand. May I have my ticket back, please? Jennifer clutched it to her chest. I think I should keep it safe for now, Mom. You're always losing things. Jennifer, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, that ticket is in my name and it belongs to me. Please give it back. In your name? Jennifer scoffed. It's just a lottery ticket. It belongs to whoever claims it. That's not actually correct, the attorney interjected, looking uncomfortable. If the ticket has been signed or has someone's name written on it, then legally it belongs to that person. See, I said. Now please give me my ticket. Jennifer stared at me for a long moment, her face hardening into an expression I had never seen before. Then she looked down at the ticket. I could see the exact moment she noticed the name Maria had written on it. Her face went pale, then flushed with anger. This doesn't mean anything, she said, her voice rising. You couldn't have won this without me. I was the one who made you check the numbers. Jennifer, I said gently, this isn't like you. We're family, we can share this blessing. Share. She spat the word like it tasted bad. Why should I share anything with you? You've been nothing but a burden my entire life. The room went silent. The financial advisor and attorney exchanged uncomfortable glances. A burden. I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. Yes, a burden, Jennifer was shouting now. Do you have any idea how embarrassing it was, growing up with a mother who waited tables, who shopped at thrift stores, who couldn't even afford to take me on a real vacation? Each word was a knife in my heart. I thought of all the nights I had worked double shifts to afford Jennifer's dance lessons, all the meals I had skipped so she could have new clothes, all the dreams I had deferred so hers could come true. I did my best, I said softly. After your father died. Oh, here we go again. Jennifer rolled her eyes dramatically. Poor Alma, widowed so young, struggling so nobly. You've been using Dad's death as an excuse for your failures for 23 years. That's enough, I said, rising from the couch, my legs unsteady, but my voice firm. I understand you're excited about the money, but this is cruel, Jennifer. This isn't how I raised you to behave. You won't get a penny of my money, old witch, Jennifer screamed, her face contorted with rage I had never seen before. Get out! Get out of my apartment and my life! I stood frozen, unable to believe this was my daughter, my sweet Jennifer speaking to me this way. Bradley stepped forward, his hand on Jennifer's shoulder, a smirk, poorly disguised as concern on his face. I think it's best if you leave Alma, he said. Jennifer is upset and you're only making it worse. We can sort out the ticket situation later. I looked at my daughter one more time, hoping to see some flicker of remorse, some sign of the loving child I had raised. But her face remained hard, her eyes cold, so I walked away quietly, my heart breaking with every step. As I closed the door behind me, I heard Jennifer already discussing with the attorney how to ensure I couldn't claim her money. She never checked the name on the ticket. I barely remember the bus ride home. I sat in a daze, an elderly woman with her worn purse clutched to her chest, tears rolling silently down my cheeks. The other passengers glanced at me occasionally, but no one asked if I was okay. In a big city, people learn to mind their own business, especially when it comes to crying strangers. My apartment felt emptier than ever when I returned. The same faded curtains Jennifer had criticized, the same sagging couch, the same chipped dishes in the sink. But now these familiar surroundings felt like a prison sentence rather than a home. This was where I would grow old and die alone, rejected by the one person I had sacrificed everything for. I called Jennifer that evening, hoping that she had calmed down, that she would apologize. The call went straight to voicemail. I left a message telling her I loved her and that I was still willing to talk when she was ready. Then I called again an hour later, and again before I went to bed. Each time straight to voicemail. The next morning I sent a text, "Jennifer, please call me. We can work this out." No response. By the third day, my messages had become desperate. "Please, Jennifer, you're all I have. I don't care about the money. I just want my daughter back." Still nothing. On the fourth day, I went back to her apartment building. The doorman, who had always regarded me with barely concealed disdain, now wouldn't even let me in. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said, not looking sorry at all. "Ms. Harrison has requested that you not be allowed upstairs. I can call the police if you insist on staying." Ms. Harrison, not even acknowledging that I was her mother. I left before he could call the police, my cheeks burning with humiliation. When I returned home, there was an eviction notice taped to my door. Mr. Peterson had been patient, but his patience had run out. I had 30 days to pay the back rent or vacate the premises. That night, I didn't cry. I was beyond tears. I sat on my balcony, looking out at the city lights, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. I had a winning lottery ticket worth $12 million, but I was about to be homeless. I had given everything to my daughter, and in return she had thrown me away like garbage when something more valuable came along. My neighbor Susan found me there the next morning, still in yesterday's clothes, staring blankly at the sunrise. Susan was a retired nurse with a no-nonsense attitude and a heart of gold. We weren't close friends, but we looked out for each other in small ways. She collected my mail when I worked long shifts. I watered her plants when she visited her sister in Florida. "Alma," she called from her adjoining balcony. "Are you all right? You've been sitting there since I went to bed last night." I turned to her, my face stiff from dried tears and the night air. "Not really, Susan." She climbed over the divider between our balconies with surprising agility for a woman in her 70s. "Come inside. I'll make coffee and you can tell me what's wrong." In Susan's neat, cozy apartment, the whole story spilled out of me. The lottery ticket, Jennifer's excitement, the lawyers and financial advisors, the terrible fight, and my daughter's cruel words. And now I'm being evicted. I finished staring into my empty coffee cup. I have a ticket worth millions, but I don't know how to claim it without Jennifer trying to take it. And even if I did get the money, she's still my daughter. I don't want to hurt her. Susan's face had grown increasingly outraged as I spoke. "That ungrateful little—" She stopped herself. "Sorry, Alma, but after everything you did for that girl, working yourself to the bone to give her every opportunity, and this is how she repays you." I sighed. I must have done something wrong raising her. She wasn't always like this. "Nonsense," Susan said firmly. "You didn't do anything wrong. Some kids just get seduced by money and status. And that boyfriend of hers sounds like a real piece of work." She reached across the table and took my hand. "Now, about your housing situation. My spare room is small, but the bed is comfortable. You stay with me until you get this sorted out." I started to protest, but Susan waved me off. "No arguments. That's what neighbors are for." Over the next few days, I picked up extra shifts at the diner, trying to save enough to at least pay part of my back rent. My hands ached from carrying heavy trays, and my feet throbbed from standing for 12 hours. But the physical pain was almost a welcome distraction from my emotional agony. About a week after the fight with Jennifer, I was clearing tables when I overheard two customers discussing the lottery. "Can you believe no one's claimed that 12 million jackpot yet?" One man said to his companion. "Ticket was bought right here in town. If it were me, I'd have been at the lottery office before the sun came up the next day." "Maybe they don't know they won," his friend suggested. "Or maybe they lost the ticket. Or maybe they're getting their ducks in a row before they claim," the first man said. You know, setting up trusts and corporations and all that. That's what I'd do. I nearly dropped the plates I was carrying. It hadn't even occurred to me that Jennifer might try to claim the ticket despite knowing it had my name on it. Surely she wouldn't go that far. But then I remembered the cold look in her eyes as she screamed at me to get out. Maybe she would. That evening I visited the lottery website and read everything I could find about claiming prizes. The information was clear. The person whose name was on the ticket was the legal owner. If anyone else tried to claim it, that would be fraud. I thought back to that day at the convenience store. Maria had written my name on the ticket before handing it to me. She always did that for her regular customers, a small, personal touch that she said brought good luck. That small act of kindness might now be the only thing protecting me from losing everything. I had a decision to make. I could contact the Lottery Commission immediately, tell them I was the rightful winner, and claim my prize. That would be the sensible thing to do. But what would that mean for my relationship with Jennifer? As hurt as I was, she was still my only child. Could I live with myself if I took legal action against her? What if she got in trouble for attempted fraud, or I could wait, see if she would come to her senses? Maybe she would realize what she had done and come back to apologize. Maybe we could still work this out as mother and daughter, rather than adversaries. In the end, I decided to wait. Just a little longer. To give Jennifer a chance to do the right thing on her own. 3 more weeks passed. I moved in with Susan as planned when I couldn't pay my back rent. I continued working at the diner, saving what I could. I heard nothing from Jennifer. Then on a Tuesday afternoon, nearly a month after discovering the winning ticket, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. "Is this Alma Harrison?" a professional-sounding woman asked when I answered. "Yes, this is Alma," I replied, stepping outside the diner for privacy. "This is Patricia Winters from the State Lottery Commission. We need to speak with you regarding a Powerball ticket purchased on April 23rd at Lucky Corner Convenience Store." My heart began to race. Yes. We've had individuals attempting to claim the prize, but the name on the ticket is clearly Alma Harrison. Would you be able to come to our office to verify your identity as the legitimate ticket holder? So Jennifer had tried to claim my ticket after all, despite seeing my name on it, despite knowing it was legally mine. She had still tried to take it. Yes, I said, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. I can come tomorrow morning. What documentation do I need to bring? Ms. Winters gave me a list of required identification documents and the address of the lottery office. Before hanging up, she said, "Ms. Harrison, I should inform you that the other claimants have been told to appear at the same time. There may be a confrontation. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about Jennifer's cruel words about being thrown out of her apartment, about all the unanswered calls and texts. "Yes, Ms. Winters, I'm prepared." The next morning I dressed in my best clothes, gathered the required documents, and asked Susan to drive me to the lottery office. She insisted on coming inside with me for moral support. "I won't let that girl bully you," she said fiercely as we walked through the parking lot. "Not after everything she's put you through." The lottery office was a large modern building downtown. We were directed to a conference room on the 3rd floor, where Ms. Winters, a tall woman with silver-streaked hair, greeted us warmly. "Ms. Harrison, thank you for coming in. We're just waiting for the other parties." We didn't have to wait long. Within minutes the door opened again and Jennifer walked in, followed by Bradley and a man I recognized as the attorney from their apartment. Jennifer stopped short when she saw me, her eyes widening in surprise, then narrowing in anger. "What is she doing here?" she demanded, looking at Ms. Winters. "Ms. Harrison is here because her name is on the winning ticket," Ms. Winters replied calmly. "Please, everyone have a seat." Jennifer remained standing. "There must be some mistake. That ticket is mine. I found it." "Finding a ticket doesn't make it yours," Ms. Winters said, her voice still professional but with a slight edge. "Especially when it clearly has someone else's name written on it." "Show me," Jennifer demanded. Ms. Winters opened a folder and slid a photocopy of the ticket across the table. There, in Maria's neat handwriting, was my name, Alma Harrison. "This could be forged," Bradley suggested, leaning forward. "The store has security footage of the purchase," Ms. Winters countered, "and the store owner has provided a statement confirming that she wrote Ms. Harrison's name on the ticket at the time of purchase, as is her regular practice with customers she knows well." Jennifer's face had gone pale. She turned to the attorney, who was looking increasingly uncomfortable. "You said we could claim it," she hissed. "You said it would be fine." "I advised you that attempting to claim a ticket clearly bearing someone else's name could constitute fraud," the attorney replied stiffly, "and that the commission would likely investigate." "So what happens now?" Bradley asked, his earlier confidence completely evaporated. Ms. Winters adjusted her glasses. "Ms. Alma Harrison, as the legitimate ticket holder, will claim her prize. As for you," she looked directly at Jennifer and Bradley, "the commission could pursue charges for attempted fraud, which is a felony. However, that decision hasn't been made yet." Jennifer collapsed into a chair, her face in her hands. Bradley stood behind her, his hand on her shoulder, but I noticed he was already edging toward the door, distancing himself from what was quickly becoming a legal disaster. "I don't want to press charges," I said quietly, looking at Ms. Winters. "She's my daughter. She made a terrible mistake, but I don't want her to go to jail." "Mom," Jennifer looked up, her makeup streaked with tears. "You would do that for me after what I said to you?" I met her gaze steadily. "I'm your mother. That doesn't change even when you hurt me." Bradley cleared his throat. "Well, since this is clearly a family matter, perhaps we should give you two some privacy to work things out. Jennifer, I'll wait for you in the car." And just like that, he was gone, fleeing the sinking ship of Jennifer's scheme, now that there was no money in it for him. The attorney quickly followed, mumbling something about needing to make some calls. Ms. Winters stood as well. "I'll give you a few minutes alone. Then we'll need to proceed with the verification process for Ms. Harrison." After everyone else had left, Jennifer and I sat in silence for a long moment. She looked smaller, somehow diminished without Bradley's presence, and the prospect of millions. "Why did you do it?" I finally asked. "You knew the ticket was in my name. You knew it was legally mine." Jennifer wiped at her tears, leaving black mascara streaks across her cheeks. "I don't know. It all happened so fast. Bradley said it didn't matter whose name was on it, that possession was what counted. He said we deserved it more because we'd use it better." "And you believed him?" She nodded miserably. "He said you'd just wasted on your loser friends, that someone like you didn't know how to handle real money." "Someone like me," I echoed. "Jennifer, I raised you by myself after your father died. I worked 2 and sometimes 3 jobs to make sure you had everything you needed. I put you through college. I supported your dreams. What exactly about someone like me makes me undeserving?" "I know," she whispered. "I know what you did for me. I just got caught up in it all. The money, the possibilities. Bradley kept talking about the life we could have, and it sounded so perfect." "Perfect enough to throw away your relationship with your mother?" I asked, the hurt still raw in my voice. Jennifer couldn't meet my eyes. "I'm so sorry, Mom. The things I said to you, I didn't mean them. I was just angry and scared and greedy," I finished for her. "Let's be honest, Jennifer. This wasn't about fear or anger. It was about greed." She nodded, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "Are you going to claim the money?" "Yes," I said firmly. "It's my ticket, and I need that money. I've been evicted from my apartment. I'm sleeping on my neighbor's couch. I'm 62 years old with arthritis in my hands, still carrying trays at a diner, because I have no retirement savings after spending everything on you." Jennifer flinched at each statement. "What about Bradley? He said he'd break up with me if we didn't get the money." "Then he's not the man you thought he was, is he?" She shook her head slowly. No, I guess he's not. I stood up suddenly, tired of the conversation, tired of making Jennifer feel better about her terrible choices. I need to go complete the claim process. You should probably leave. Mom, wait. Jennifer reached for my hand. Can we fix this? Can you forgive me? I looked down at my daughter, seeing both the cruel woman who had called me an old witch and thrown me out of her apartment, and the little girl who used to wait up for me after my late shifts, determined to get a goodnight kiss, no matter what. I don't know, Jennifer, I said honestly. I love you. I'll always love you. But trust is harder to rebuild than love. Right now, I need some time. I pulled my hand away gently and walked out of the conference room, to find Ms. Winters leaving Jennifer alone with the consequences of her choices. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of paperwork meetings with financial advisors and adjusting to my new reality as a multimillionaire. I opted for the lump sum payment, which after taxes came to about $5.8 million, more money than I had ever dreamed of having, but suddenly it didn't seem as important as it once had. The media attention was overwhelming at first. Everyone wanted to interview the waitress who had won millions. I declined most requests, but did one interview with a local newspaper on the condition they focus on my plans to help others rather than the drama with my daughter. People I hadn't heard from in years suddenly found my phone number. Old high school classmates, distant relatives, even Frank's brother, who had stopped speaking to me after the funeral because he thought I hadn't chosen an expensive enough casket. All of them had ideas about how I could share my newfound wealth. The hardest part was how differently people treated me. Customers at the diner who had never bothered to learn my name now greeted me enthusiastically. Mr. Peterson, my former landlord, called to say he had been hasty about the eviction and would be happy to have me back. Even the doorman at Jennifer's building suddenly found his manners when I arrived to collect some personal items I'd left there. Money changed everything, except what mattered most. It couldn't bring Frank back. It couldn't undo Jennifer's cruel words. It couldn't erase the memory of being thrown out by my own daughter. I left my job at the diner, though I still stop by for breakfast sometimes and leave enormous tips for my former coworkers. I bought a modest but comfortable 2-bedroom condo in a nice part of town. Nothing extravagant, but it has an elevator that's easy on my arthritic knees, and a small balcony where I can grow herbs and flowers. On the advice of my financial team, I set up a trust to manage most of the money, ensuring I would have a comfortable income for the rest of my life. Then, I established a charitable foundation focused on helping single parents who are struggling financially. We provide emergency assistance, educational scholarships, and small business loans. I named it after Frank, who would have loved the idea of helping other families avoid the hardships we faced after his death. I also joined a support group for lottery winners, which sounds ridiculous until you've actually experienced the unique challenges that come with sudden wealth. There I met other people struggling with family members who felt entitled to their winnings, friends who only called when they needed money, and the strange guilt that comes from having so much when others have so little. Meanwhile, Jennifer's life took a different turn. Bradley did indeed break up with her when it became clear there would be no lottery millions. She lost her job at a marketing firm when the scandal of her attempted fraud made the local news despite my efforts to keep her name out of the press. For the first month after the lottery office confrontation, I heard nothing from her. Then the messages started arriving. First a text, "I miss you, Mom," then emails, each longer and more detailed than the last, telling me how sorry she was, how much she regretted her actions, how Bradley had manipulated her. But she knew that was no excuse. Gifts began appearing at my door. Flowers, a handmade card, a photo album filled with pictures of us from happier times, a knitted scarf in my favorite color, something Jennifer must have worked on for weeks. I accepted the gifts but didn't respond to the messages. I wasn't being cruel. I simply didn't know what to say. The wound was still too fresh, the betrayal too deep. 3 months after winning the lottery, I agreed to meet Jennifer at a small cafe halfway between our homes, neutral territory as my therapist had suggested. She was already waiting when I arrived, sitting at a corner table nervously shredding a napkin. She looked thinner than I remembered, with dark circles under her eyes. She stood when she saw me awkwardly, like she wasn't sure if she should hug me or not. "Mom," she said, her voice catching, "thank you for coming." "Hello, Jennifer," I replied, taking the seat across from her. We ordered coffee, neither of us really wanting food. Then came the hard part, actually talking. "I've been in therapy," Jennifer began, staring into her cup, "trying to understand why I did what I did, why I said those terrible things to you." I nodded, waiting for her to continue. "The therapist thinks I've spent my whole life running from who I really am, from where I came from. I was so focused on becoming someone else, someone wealthier and more sophisticated, that I lost sight of what really matters." She looked up at me, her eyes brimming with tears. "I lost sight of the one person who always loved me no matter what." "I did always love you," I agreed softly. "I still do. But Jennifer, love isn't enough. There has to be respect too, and trust." "I know," she whispered, "and I broke that trust in the worst possible way. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, or maybe ever, but I want you to know that I'm trying to be better, to be the daughter you deserve." "What happened with Bradley?" I asked, though I already knew from Susan, who had made it her mission to keep tabs on Jennifer through mutual acquaintances. Jennifer gave a bitter laugh. "He left the day of the lottery office meeting, said he couldn't be with someone with such a toxic family situation." His words. I found out later he's already dating the daughter of one of his father's business partners, someone with the right connections. "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. No matter what Jennifer had done, I didn't want her to be hurt. "Don't be," she replied, surprising me. It was the wake-up call I needed. Bradley never loved me. He loved the idea of me, the potential connections and status I represented. And I was doing the same thing to him. She paused. "To you too, in a way. I saw you as this embarrassing reminder of where I came from, instead of the amazing, strong woman who sacrificed everything for me." We talked for hours, going over painful memories and hard truths. Jennifer told me about her new job at a small, nonprofit organization, how she was learning to live on a modest income, how she was reconnecting with old friends she had dropped when they couldn't keep up with her expensive lifestyle. "I don't expect anything from you, Mom," she said, as our meeting drew to a close. "I know I don't deserve your help or your money. I just want a chance to be your daughter again, if that's still possible." I considered her words carefully before responding. "I think it is possible, Jennifer, but it will take time, and it will have to be different than before." "Different how?" "More honest, more equal. I can't be the mother who gives and gives while getting nothing in return. And you can't be the daughter who takes and takes without giving back." Jennifer nodded soberly. "I understand, and I want that too." As we prepared to leave, I made a decision. "I've set up a fund for you," I told her. "Not a large one, but enough to pay for graduate school if you decide to go back. Education is an investment in your future, and that's something I still believe in." Her eyes widened. "Mom, you don't have to do that, after what I did." "I'm not doing it because I have to," I interrupted. "I'm doing it because I want to. Because despite everything, I believe you can learn from this and become a better person. But Jennifer," I added, my voice growing firm, "this is it. No more handouts, no more rescuing you when you make poor choices. You're an adult, and it's time you lived like one." "Thank you," she whispered. "Not just for the money, but for giving me another chance." We parted with a brief, awkward hug, both of us aware that rebuilding our relationship would be a long, slow process. But for the first time since the lottery ticket changed our lives, I felt a glimmer of hope that we might find our way back to each other. In the months since then, Jennifer and I have been taking small steps toward reconciliation. Weekly phone calls, occasional dinners, a weekend visit where she helped me plant flowers on my new balcony. It's not perfect. There are still moments of tension, old hurts, that flare up unexpectedly. But we're trying. Last week, Jennifer joined me at a fundraising event for my foundation. She worked alongside me, greeting guests, sharing our story, explaining the importance of supporting single parents. At the end of the night, an elderly gentleman who had made a generous donation pulled me aside. "Your daughter is remarkable," he said, nodding toward Jennifer across the room. "You must be very proud." I followed his gaze, watching Jennifer earnestly explaining our scholarship program to a young couple. I replied, surprised to realize how much I meant it. "We've had our struggles, but she's finding her way." Money reveals character, it doesn't create it. The $12 million didn't make Jennifer cruel or greedy. It simply magnified what was already there. And now, as she works to become a better person, the absence of that money is revealing something else, her capacity for growth, for redemption. As for me, I've learned that true wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's found in authentic relationships, in purposeful work, in the knowledge that your life has made a positive difference for others. By that measure, I'm richer now than I ever dreamed possible. What about you? Have you ever had a relationship tested by money or success? Do you think forgiveness should be earned? Or is it something we should offer freely to those we love? Let me know in the comments below, and if this story touched your heart, please subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, sometimes the most valuable things in life can't be bought, only treasured.